is a prominent NATO member, abandoning NATO and joining Putin and China in their authoritarian world order? Plus, is Putin's CTSO losing one of their members? I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. Let's talk about this strange shift in the geopolitical landscape and what it means for Ukraine. Okay, so this is a really big story that NATO member Turkey is requesting membership of the Russian-led BRICS organization. Now, this is huge because Turkey is a NATO member. And as we've talked about extensively, NATO is standing as a counterpoint to Russian and Chinese expansion. But officially, the BRICS is not a military organization, it's an economic one. So Turkey is able to try to straddle this situation, these two organizations. Now, Turkey is saying, oh, we can become strong, prosperous, and prestigious if we have both East and Western relations. And this is something that has been endemic to the Turkish history, right? They've thrived economically and politically when they've triangulated the situation between the Eastern and Western worlds. But are they really doing so for the West, or is this more of a turn away from a Western orientation and towards the East? And Turkey has said, quote, "We do not have to choose between the European Union and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, as some people claim." That's the formal name of this BRICS organization. On the contrary, Turkish President Erdogan said, "We will develop our own relations with these and other organizations on a win-win basis." Of course, a former Turkish diplomat is more pointed, saying that this move is meant as a big FU to the West, saying that it was driven by, quote, "accumulated frustrations in Ankara with the West and the EU." But then they're like, it's not to replace the West, it's to strengthen relations with non-Western partners at a time when U.S. hegemony is waning. So you can see they're firing shots directly at the U.S., which tells us this isn't really about the EU at all. This is about partnering with stated Western or U.S. adversaries. And it's a little fraught, right? Because the BRICS, of course, officially is considered Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. These in the early 90s were considered some of the rising star economies in the world. But the reality is a little bit more different. It's sort of become a kind of catch-all to include economically growing or powerful entities that don't necessarily have a huge, a mature and robust democracy, right? They're not fully industrialized or fully democratized countries. India is probably the closest one here, as South Africa also fairly close, but both of them have had their own problems with authoritarian rule. And the BRICS also includes the UAE, Ethiopia, and Egypt, which joined earlier this year, and the bloc is considered an alternative to the U.S.-led G7 group, right? G7 being the 7 largest economies. But this is a function of really a reality. It's formalizing, in some ways, a reality that Turkey has found itself in for several years. And it's, again, a reflection of kind of a real problem within NATO. But before we talk about that, of course, if you feel like you need to enhance your own status, you probably don't need to betray your long-term allies. You may just need a little extra caffeine. You should check out Strike Gum. It's got all the caffeine of a Red Bull or an Amp Energy drink, but none of the sugar. And best of all, we got our Labor Day sale still going on. And so there's free shipping on all domestic orders over $50, 20% off international orders. That means if you get 2 of these 5-packs, you're going to get the equivalent of 50 energy drinks, right? That's $200. I think it'll run you $250 at a gas station. But instead, you can get the superior energy drink alternative. Plus, you don't have to carry around a can and drink those energy drinks, which honestly, half of them taste like cough medicine, right? Strike Gum's a refreshing mint flavor. Give you your energy, pop it, chew it, get back and get after it. Check the link in the description and that promo code Labor Day 24. By the way, that promo code also will get you access to combatvetnews.com at a discount. You become a member, support the channel, get access to uncensored combat footage, including a crazy drone footage that we checked out just today, showing a Ukrainian drone that I've never seen before, one depositing thermite into Russian positions. Crazy stuff. And if you want access to that and dozens of other uncensored combat videos, those are going to be for members only. So make sure you use promo code Labor Day 24, 10 to 20% off every tier. Okay, let's talk about the why this is going on. And one, in 2013, President Biden openly declared, he said, quote, "The actions of the government of Turkey to conduct a military offensive into northeastern Syria undermine the campaign to defeat ISIS, endanger civilians, and further threatens to undermine peace, security, and stability in the region." Now, as we know, that the PKK, the Kurdish terrorist or independent movement, depending on how you view it, is very active in Turkey because, frankly, the Kurds are not well treated by the Turkish government. And so Turkey has been on a campaign against them, including launching a major offensive into northeast Syria, which is considered Kurdistan. And the Kurds are staunch U.S. allies. And so and are on the absolute front line of the campaign to defeat ISIS, which, by the way, is still in existence, even though they don't hold anything like the territory they used to. And so in an effort to kind of curb this and bring a level of peace to the region, because you may know, we're not doing it out of the kindness of our heart, right? Frankly, a lot of Syrians are leaving Syria and have left Syria, and they can't be sent back to a war zone. So the U.S. wants to see Syria become a stable, functioning state so that particularly our European allies can start to help resolve their own immigration crises. And so we can't do so if the government of Turkey is constantly launching offensives against our number one point man against ISIS, right? The Kurds don't have that many resources. So they say, listen, we got to fight off the Turks, and ISIS will just have to become secondary. In fact, there's a lot of rumors, at least Sivdiv has pointed out when he was with the Kurdish Peshmerga, that Turkey and ISIS were conducting joint offensives. So yeah, the U.S. president's like, dude, you can either be a partner of ISIS or a partner of us, right? And, maybe ISIS will support you against Russia or sell you high-end technological equipment, but it's apparently not going to be us. In fact, following this declaration, President Biden, by executive order, said Turkey is, quote, "an unusual and extraordinary threat to national security and foreign policy of the United States, constituted by the situation in Syria." Interestingly enough, in 2023, there was a bombing in Ankara, and that the assailants arrived from Syria by paraglider, which should trigger a feeling. You should recognize that in 2023, there was another major instance in which terrorists entered by paraglider. 6 days before that declaration, Turkey began bombing facilities in Syria, including an instance in which the U.S. forces downed a Turkish drone, and that while Turks were doing airstrikes on what they considered PKK militants, they came within 500 meters of American troops, right? A reckless act by with someone who was supposed to be a NATO partner. So, this is a huge problem. And of course, years ago, the U.S. released the Countering America's Adversaries Through Sanctions Act, federal law that imposed sanctions primarily on Iran, North Korea, and Russia. But there were some other problems. You see here, the Turks had some problems with how they were featured in this deal, right? The sanctions said that the Turkish couldn't purchase Russian S-400 missiles. Turkish officials said, you know what, U.S., go pound sand. Sanction us if you want. But we're going to buy these Russian arms. And the U.S. said, okay, we are sanctioning you. You are removed from the F-35 program. So you can see how this tit-for-tat relationship has really fallen apart. But here's the thing. Turkey, Turkey is an Aragon's consolidation of power has put them increasingly at odds with U.S. democratic norms, right? The U.S. says, listen, we're a democracy, guys. We have elections. And then you have someone like Aragon who says, we have elections only when I'm going to win them. And it's clear who Erdogan's friends are going to be. They're going to be people like Putin and Xi, who also only hold elections, but just so that they can win them. But that doesn't mean that things are going great for Putin, right? Armenia, which has long been a country in the Caucasus, who's been an ally of Moscow, has actually announced officially they are leaving the other Putin NATO alternative, the CTSO. He says, and this is not speculative, this is saying we will leave, Armenia is saying, we will leave the Kremlin CTSO and we will decide when. They say, of course, that Putin, shocker, has not fulfilled his obligations, but is actively planning a war against us with Azerbaijan, which of course tells you how Putin operates. A treaty with Putin isn't worth the paper it's printed on. We've talked about this ad nauseum on this channel, right? So, what exactly is he mad about? Oh, no big deal. Just when Russia did nothing as Azerbaijan attacked Armenia. Again, this would be like the U.S. like facilitating like Germany attacking France. Or attacking the UK. They'd be like, dude, you're our ally. What are you doing? Why are you allowing this to happen? He said Russian peacekeepers failed completely in the breakaway region of Nagorno-Karabakh as Azerbaijan launched an offensive and drove out 100,000 ethnic Armenians. Literally, Russian peacekeepers, you had one job. And Russia instead allowed an ethnic cleansing. If a region has one ethnicity forced out, guys, it's an ethnic cleansing. And after that, Armenia said, listen, we can't be a part of this organization that doesn't do anything to help us. And so Armenia is out, but Turkey looks like they're in. So as you can see, this is a huge geopolitical reshifting, guys. These are relationships that have existed for decades, right? And so seeing them start to shift, and it's a sign that there is some kind of big geopolitical realignment that's happening, right? Turkey is not a small nation. Armenia is small, but significant. Again, point out that Turkey officially says the Armenian genocide never happened. In the U.S., we said last year the Armenian genocide definitely happened. It's 100 years ago. Doesn't matter. But the point is that Turkey wants to never be wrong. And the U.S., even the U.S. for a long time, appeased Turkey and was like, But when Turkey starts to play stupid games and win stupid prizes, one of their stupid prizes is that the U.S. will sit there and go, listen, guys, we're not going to make believe that this didn't happen. Strange times. Anyway, huge thank you to our Colonel tier members, particularly James Sterling, Steve Moran, Doug Beck, Alan Nitzen, Bastian Himmeling, Yanko Georgiev, Dale McCombs, and James Ola. I could not do this without you guys. And huge thank you to our Lieutenant tier members. Also couldn't do it without you guys. And I hope you enjoy. I hope you'll join us over on combatvetnews.com. Check out that absolutely unhinged drone footage. Crazy stuff. Anyway, also subscribe to the channel. That helps. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.